Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for attending the April session of our iMap Invasives monthly webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about the iMap Invasives field data collection tools ahead of the 2025 field season. So going through all of the different tools that we have available for partners to use for data collection and any sort of updates that we've made to the tools over the past year. My name is Douglas Knopf. I am the project specialist for the iMap Invasives team here at New York Natural Heritage Program. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded. Everyone who registers and attends will be receiving an email after the conclusion of the webinar with a link to the recording, as well as any links that are mentioned during the webinar. So if I mention any sort of help documents or links to any of our web pages, those will be included in the email. If anybody has any questions during the webinar, you can go ahead and put those directly into the chat box. I'm also joined by Fate Sewanyun, who is another member of the iMap Invasives team who will be monitoring the chat box and answering any questions that come up during the presentation. We'll also have the presentation for answering any more complicated questions that come up. Fate, are you able to hear me okay? My audio coming through?
I am able to hear you, but
Okay.
is everybody, can somebody, I don't know, I got a message saying you may or may not be muted.
Just get a confirmation from other people.
Okay.
It's good. Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Other people. Great.
Yeah, if anybody's having any difficulties with audio, you might try leaving and rejoining or checking your audio settings. Yeah, but I think we'll go ahead and jump right into it then if everything else is good. So most people are familiar with how iMap Invasives operates. We are the official invasive species database from New York State, and we provide the centralized database that houses all of the invasive species data from community scientists and partner agencies who are collecting data. And we also host a number of different field data collection tools that allow people to collect presence, not detected, and treatment data. And then we have a host of data analyses tools that allow for our partners to help prioritize their invasive species management plans in the forms of things like web map services, derivative analyses tools, like spatial prioritization tools, and our New York State invasive species tiers list. But for today, we're going to be focusing on mostly just the field data collection tools that iMap Invasives hosts. And it's also important to note that this presentation is not necessarily going to be a full training on any of our field data collection tools, more so just an overview of what is available for this field season and any sort of significant updates that have been made to these tools. So to start off, we'll go over the website and mobile app, jump into our different Survey 1, 2, 3 tools, and finish off with the iMap Mobile Advanced data tool. A quick overview of choosing the best tool for your invasive species work that you might be conducting this season, and then at the end, there'll be time for questions. So this is the full list of all of our ways that you can contribute data to the iMap Invasives database. So starting off, the iMap Invasives online map view. Basically, as soon as you log into iMap Invasives, when you get into that big map of North America, that's how you access the database itself, but that is also a way that you can contribute data directly into the database. So that's sort of like the built-in data collection tool. And then everything else is considered to be an external data collection tool, either through a dedicated mobile app, a form on a Survey 1, 2, 3 app application, or through a field maps application. The general workflow for how you set up and utilize these tools. First off, being connected to either internet or having good cell service is how you download the dedicated app for the data collection program they're going to be using. Configuring your application, getting your forms all set up, filling out any sort of templates or favorites that you would want for the surveys you're going to be conducting. So all of that requires an internet connectivity. Then once you're out in the field, after everything is all set up, you don't need any sort of connectivity. You can be in areas that are remote without any cell service or anything like that. And you're able to collect data and have it stored on the device that you're collecting data with. And then when you return to the office or somewhere where there's internet connectivity again, you are able to upload and sync those records to either the iMap Invasives database itself or the map layers that these tools utilize. So to start off, we are going to jump into the iMap Invasives mobile app. So the mobile app is designed to be the simplest to use and most straightforward data collection software that we have. It's a dedicated app that you download onto your device, and it is used for collecting point data for either detected or not detected species data. So for iOS devices, version 3.0.4 is available on the App Store. If you have it downloaded already, make sure that you're updated to the latest version. The only known issue that we have with the iOS version currently is the displayed GPS accuracy may be displaying incorrectly. So if you are taking an observation and you look down near the little map view, partway down your observation record, it'll show you the accuracy of your point that you're currently collecting, and that may not display properly. All other features of the app should be working as expected. For the Android version of the app, there's a few other quirks that we're currently working on. Newer Android devices are having some difficulty reading geotags when using a photo from the library. So if you're trying to pull in a photo that is already on the device, it may have difficulty finding location data for that. And then if you are trying to retrieve iMap lists and essentially log into the mobile app on this device, it may have sporadic issues where it may spit out error messages and kind of inexplicably not work for you. The best solution we have for this is to kind of just keep trying, close the app, reopen it, re-input your credentials and try it again. Usually it will work after a few attempts. These are all issues that we are currently working on addressing in the coming updates. We believe we've identified the culprit for all of these issues, so we're just kind of ironing out the kinks and working to get those sorted for the next major update. A few tips for using the mobile app. If you are using a photo from the library, the photo library on your device, it will attempt to automatically read the geotag from the photo and fill in the latitude longitude data for that photo. This requires that you have these things enabled on your device and that your device's location is shared with your photos. So when you're taking a photo, having that information attached to the photos. If it isn't able to do so, then you might not have that enabled on your device, and you can go into your settings and try to adjust that. And again, if you're using an Android device, this may not work at all. After you select a photo, verifying that the location is correct. And this is best done later on, either when you're able to get to the data on your computer, or after you upload it from your mobile app and it goes into the database. Updating the location is a lot easier to do there than on the mobile device itself. It can be a little finicky there. If you are using photos that are already on your device and you want to change the location that it's showing, it may just be best to do so on the web version of iMap, just to avoid some of those issues. And before you go out and do any sort of data collection, it's always a good idea to refresh iMap lists. So going into the preferences of the iMap app and hitting the refresh iMap list button, just to ensure that all of the species lists are up to date and any sort of changes to your projects and organizations are reflected. And this is just to ensure that all of the data goes in properly and doesn't have any issues with compatibility. Now, if you were on the All Prism call just a couple hours ago, you may have heard Jennifer Dean mention that there was an exciting new update to the iMap Invasives app for a long-awaited feature. And Let's see, hopefully this will work. There you go. You blink and you miss it. But we do now have type ahead capability. So traditionally, when inputting a new species observation, you would have to choose the species from the entire jurisdictional list of 560 plus species. You would have to scroll through the whole list looking for the one that you were reporting, or you would have to make sure your custom species list was just including the species that you were surveying for. But now with this new update that will be coming out shortly, I don't know exactly when, but soon, you'll be able to simply type in the species that you are reporting for, and it will fill in the species that we have on our database. So you'll just be able to look for the ones that you're interested in. This will be coming out in the next update, and it just makes things a little more streamlined when choosing the species that you are reporting, either detected or not detected points for. And you might be thinking that it couldn't possibly get any better than that, but we do have several other sort of medium and long-term future development ideas on the docket. Things for the immediate future are things like splitting the latitude and longitude data into discrete fields, which could make it easier to update the location data for your points. Automatic jurisdiction identification, selection, and correction. So currently you have to choose which jurisdiction you're collecting data for. So if you choose New York, and then you go across the border into Pennsylvania and collect data, it'll still be attributed to New York. And that's something that we just have to fix on our end, adjusting the data. But hopefully in the future we can have that automatically changed depending on where that data is coming in from. And then also saving positional accuracy, basically having a data field that shows how accurate your point data is when you're collecting records. And then sort of further off on the horizon for long-term future development ideas for the app, having multiple photos for records, additional data fields, and showing photo guidance for selected species. So this is a project that we've been kind of working on in the background. We've had student interns start to develop these photo guidance profiles for certain species, and we're hoping to have those available for use in the mobile app directly at some point in the future. So that is it for the mobile app, and then we'll move on to our various Survey 123 forms that we have available. So Survey 123 is an app that is created by Esri. iMap Invasives doesn't own Survey 123. We just have multiple forms that utilize this platform for data collection. Right now we have the general iMap Invasives Survey 123 form, the Simple Aquatic Survey Pro or SAS Pro form, as well as the Forest Pest Data Collection Tool and the Rapid Pest Data Collection Tool. And similar to the mobile app, and basically all of our data collection tools, you need to have internet connectivity when you're setting it up, starting by downloading the Survey 123 application, downloading the form that you're interested in, either by getting invited to the form if it's not public, or going onto our website and downloading it through the links. Getting your account information, so your person ID. A lot of these forms will need you to input the number rather than having you log in. So if you go to the iMap Invasives database website and you go to your account information, you'll find your person ID number on that page. So having that written down is usually good. And then there's also the option to download New York State offline base maps. This way, if you're in an area where you don't have any sort of cell coverage, you'll still be able to see things like orthoimagery or topographic features instead of just a blank white map. We also suggest using the favorites features for these tools, or these forms rather. So opening up a new version of one of these forms, entering all of your information, so your person ID, your organization and project ID numbers, and then saving it as a favorite and keeping that saved version as a draft. This makes it so that every time you open up a new version of the form and choose to paste favorites, all of that information from that saved draft will be put into that new form, and you won't have to fill out your identifying numbers every time. So for specifically the iMap Invasive Survey 123 form, we have basically two methods of data collection for this form. There's the advanced data collections, which is the classic version, the one that has always been available. And this allows you to kind of draw your own searched area, and then within that searched area, you can have points, lines, and polygons for presence records, not detected records, and treatment records. There's also an option to toggle just collecting simple data, which is more akin to the mobile app in that it will just drop a single point and it will automatically create a buffer around that point of 5 meters. And this too can be used for presence, not detected, and treatment records. So there's the point option available. The data is color coded, so present species data comes up as green, not detected comes up as yellow, and treatment data will come up as brown. There's built-in guidance on how to enable the favorites feature, like I mentioned earlier, how to set up that kind of template that you can pull from. And there's been other various improvements and fixes to make sure that the form is running as smoothly as possible. There's also a feature that's going to be coming soon, an additional manual treatment option for people who are doing the removal of flower heads for manual invasive species treatments. Jumping into the Simple Aquatic Survey Pro form, similar data schema to the other Survey 123 form. You can create a searched area and fill out various data fields for that searched area. Things like weather, photos, and any sort of comments for that site. You can choose which specific survey method you're going to be utilizing for that site. And then as you are going to different locations, if you're doing things like conducting a rake toss survey, as you go to each site and conduct a rake toss, it essentially creates a presence record. And to that presence record, you can attach multiple species. So you can have, each species that you pull up during your rake toss, photos, abundance, any sort of additional comments you want to make for it. And then to the actual presence record itself that contains all of the different species, you can have additional information on things like abundance and water depth. You can also set up target species. So if you're looking for specific species, you'll set them there. And then if those species aren't recorded from any of the rake tosses that you're conducting, it'll automatically create not detected records for species on the target list that aren't recorded. So this is just an example of how the data looks in iMap from a few rake toss surveys that were completed in Jefferson County. The purple polygons are searched areas, and then the green dots within are different rake tosses that were conducted. So as you can see here, it'll give you information on which species are recorded. And then for the species that aren't recorded, there's automatically a not detected record that is created as well. So the status for the tool for this year, it is all ready for data collection. Anybody who already has access to the tool, just make sure that everything is up to date, and you will be able to go out and start collecting data right away. There are minor updates, including updates to the jurisdictional species list, which should be completed sometime in June. But the tool is perfectly functional in the meantime. It's publicly available, so you don't need to have any sort of an ArcGIS account, which means you can use it with volunteer organization or volunteer groups or professionals. There's also one feature that has been added, the addition of a no toss point. So if you go to a location to conduct a rake toss, but for some reason you aren't able to fully complete it, like if the water is too deep or if there's somebody scuba diving nearby and you're not able to actually conduct the toss, you can input that as a data point. And if anybody has any remaining records from 2024 that you have not reviewed yet, we just ask that you please review any remaining data that you have saved. And then we will jump into the forest pest data collection tools. So like I mentioned, there are two versions of this tool. We have the full version, which is currently available for use as is. And this is basically works similarly again to the other Survey 123 tools, where you can create polygons for invasive species surveys that are specifically focused on forest pest species. So things like beech leaf disease, hemlock woolly algid, oak wilt, etc. And for some of these species, if you select that you're conducting a survey for these species, additional questions specific to that species will come up. And then there's also the rapid version of this form, which, much like the simple version of the Survey 123 form, will just do point data instead of having you create polygons. The rapid pest form is still one of our newer tools. We haven't had a ton of people using it. So if anybody is interested in potentially using this for surveys, you can contact us to request access to it. Or if any of our current users want to provide any feedback, you can do so at any time by reaching out to us. And then our final data collection tool is iMap Mobile Advanced, which is our only other map-centric data collection tool, which utilizes the field maps as reapplication. So for this tool, everything is all ready for 2025 data collection. We have all the previous data archived, and the 2025 layer is now all updated. Some other minor updates, the species list has been updated for all new species from last year. You're now able to tag the percentage and number of treated species for each target species within a treatment area. And the new treatment method of cutting flower heads is currently available for iMap Mobile Advanced. Like I mentioned for the other tool, it is coming soon, but it is already available for this one. We've also made some minor changes to offline area creation to hopefully make that process a little quicker. And if anyone has any offline areas from previous years, we ask that you remove them from your device and recreate them, just to make sure that all the data layers are synced up properly. A few tips before using IMA to collect data. Going through all the attributes that you're going to be collecting data for, so that you know what you're looking for ahead of time. Writing down any sort of necessary numbers, like your user ID, project or organization IDs, so you can fill those in. And adjusting your collection settings, so going into your settings and making sure everything here is how you want it. Specifically for things like streaming distance. So you know, if you're going to be taking a polygon around a population of invasive species, making sure that your streaming distance is an appropriate length. You know, if it's something like 10 feet, you might be taking a lot of small segments, which might just end up with a more complex polygon at the end. We also have a help doc available just to go over some of these tips, as well as general setup advice and other advice for using the tool, which is available. There's a link to it in the AGOL group where you access the data layers. And this is, I don't think I mentioned this, but this is a tool that is not publicly available. So if you are interested in using this tool and you do have access to an AGOL account, either through your organization or personal account, you can reach out to us and we can add you to the IMA group so that you can utilize this tool. A few more tips, making sure that all the data that you're collecting is associated with a search area that you've created, and ensuring that all of the data that you're taking falls within searched area boundaries. If you associate a point with a searched area, but the point falls outside of it, it may be lost in the crosswalking process, putting it into iMap. So making sure that everything fits neatly within the searched area. Again, keeping those polygons clean and simple, making sure that there is as few vertices to the polygon as possible. Making sure that all treatment data that you're collecting is associated with presence data. So over on the right here, the purple polygon is a searched area. The green polygon is a presence polygon that falls within that searched area. And then the orange triangle is treatment polygon that again falls within that presence area. And if you come across any old taxonomy species, just be sure to ignore those. They're clearly labeled as old. But if this is the case of if a species has its scientific name updated, we keep the old taxonomies in there just so that the old data under those taxonomic names isn't affected, but we utilize the new ones for future data. And then a few tips for the data review process after you've collected data using IMA. If you have any test data in there, so like fake species records to ensure that your tools are working, if you have empty searched areas from areas that you didn't get any information for, or if you're using fake species records as like a placeholder for a point of interest or something like that, making sure that all of these test data are removed because the test data is not going to be crosswalked over into iMap Invasives, the full database. Making sure that you review all of the data that you've collected before marking any of the searched areas ready for upload. And again, referring to that help document for any sort of additional information you might need. After you reviewed all the data within a searched area, you can mark it ready to upload. We've been pretty good this year about kind of getting the data crosswalked as it's been marked ready for upload. I know Fate has spent a lot of his time kind of keeping on top of that for the 2024 data. But if you have your data ready for upload and you want to make sure it gets in right away, you can reach out to us directly and we can make a point to get it over as quick as possible. So if you're doing projects with partners and you want to be able to get maps or reports to them, you can reach out to us to get data in faster. We're still working on automating the data review process and empowering other staff to kind of get data from IMA into iMap. And like I mentioned, we were pretty good about 2024 data getting in as quick as possible. So there should be minimal delays in getting data in once it's marked as ready. And if anybody needs any specific help with iMap Mobile Advanced data, you can reach out to Fate directly. His email is there on the screen, and he'll be able to help you out. And then a note on offline base maps. So like I mentioned earlier, downloading offline base maps allows you to have either topographic information or ortho imagery saved directly onto your device. This way, if you go into an area where there is a limited cell service, instead of just seeing a little blue pin on a completely white box, you'll be able to see sort of topographic features that you can use to kind of reference where your point is being taken. This is helpful if you're doing things like creating a polygon and you want to be able to say hug the shoreline of this pond here. It helps if you're actually able to see the pond on your device. So we have a help doc available on our help resources library on our iMap Invasives website. I'll include a link to that in the email that goes out after the webinar is completed, but that will walk you through how to download the offline areas for the different tools for Server 123 and field map tools. And then we'll go ahead and just do a little bit of information about how to pick the right tool for you. So starting off with the most simple ones, if you're just doing single species point records with very few details, or if you're dealing with things like a volunteer audience that might not be, they might not have access to a lot of technological resources, or they might not have as much technological skills. Things like the iMap Mobile Advanced are simple and easy to use. This is also good for things like incidental findings. If you're doing something unrelated and you find a single invasive species that you want to report, you can use the mobile app for that instead of creating a whole form for a different tool. But if you are doing something more complex and you need to record multiple species for a single record, if you want more detailed data fields or you want to create polygons, record treatment data, you might look at something like the Survey 123 form. If you're doing more specific surveys, so if you're looking at something like forest health, then you're doing hemlock stand analyses, looking for HWA or elongate hemlock scale or something like that, you might consider using one of our forest pest forms, either the base form or the rapid form for just point data collection. If you're going to be focusing on aquatic species, doing things like rake tosses or other aquatic-based surveys, you might consider using SAS Pro. And if you need to have access to basically everything, more advanced features, being able to see a map view of the current area you're surveying in, if you're returning to an existing site multiple years in a row, or if you have a crew of people working on the same site and you want them to be able to see each other's data as it's coming in, you might consider using something like iMap Mobile Advanced in field maps. Like I mentioned, we have our help resources library available on our website. You can find a link for this in the newyorkimapinvasives.org/training page. There's also a hyperlink at the top right of most pages on the nymapinvasives.org website that will bring you directly to our resources library. There you can find documents that have full walkthroughs on how to set up most of the things that I mentioned today. Offline based maps, Survey 123 forms, iMap mobile app, etc. If you're looking for specific forms or specific training information about certain forms and you aren't able to find it, you can always reach out to us directly